How do the Arizona football holdovers look, particularly the man that is going to decide whether this is a good or a poor season for Arizona football?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for giving it a Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. The show is proudly presented to you today by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet with FanDuel.com, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, now, we talked Arizona basketball last show. We talked Arizona football. We talked, players coming back, all of that stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit now about the guys that are coming back, though, and what we should expect from them. That, to me, is an interesting aspect to all of this because, yes, Arizona is going to be relying on a ton of new players, obviously, a ton of new players. But at the same time, you also got a lot of guys coming back, and a lot of these guys are basically going to be able to decide whether, this team is good or not. And I think that's going to be a fairly interesting part to all of this. So we'll start on offense, and then we're just going to go. We'll just go bit by bit, and we'll break this all down for you. So the first one is Noah Fifita, my friends. Noah Fifita. Like I said, let's just put it like this. This team is going to go as far as Noah Fifita takes them. I don't think that there's really any doubt about that. That is really that's just kind of the way it is. If Noah Fifita is really, really good, Arizona is going to be really, really good. If Noah Fifita struggles, then Arizona is definitely going to struggle. It's kind of that simple, to be honest with you. This is a player that is immensely talented, obviously, and a guy that, when you watch him, you can just tell that he's got, like I said, he's got the arm strength. There were some dummies out there that thought that Jaden DeLauro was better, but he certainly wasn't. You could just tell by the record of the same team when Noah Fifita took over. But the thing with Noah, though, is that he can get the ball out quickly. Not only can he get the ball out quickly, he can also get the ball out. And he can get it to where it needs to be. That's a big thing about all of this. He's not a noodle-armed quarterback. Not only is he not a noodle-armed quarterback, he's not a guy that, it's like, all right, well, it's just going to be a lollipop, or he's going to have to run around, or whatever the case may be. This is a guy that, like I said, he's got the skills to make it happen. So we shall see. But he's also got, I think his skill position guys around him are more talented than they were last year. You obviously lost somebody in T-Mac that is probably, you could make the case is probably the best offensive player in school history. I could certainly see that, and I would not argue with that one at all. But this is also a guy, though, that he didn't really have much else after him before. You look at it, Jeremiah Patterson didn't really materialize as much as we like Jeremiah Patterson. He did not. Chris Hunter, towards the end, who we're going to get back to, started to materialize to a certain degree. But overall, though, this was a team that just didn't have a lot around him, so there's that. But Noah has a new offensive coordinator now. Not only does he have a new offensive coordinator, he's got a guy that I think really trusts him. And the big thing about it is, and you got to keep coming back to this, is that Seth Daggy said, I want to have somebody that is more of a partner with me. That, again, I'm his coach, but he can tell me, hey, I was seeing this. I think we should go in this way. Or I saw this, and I think we should go in this way. That is, like I said, that's what you need, whereas just kind of a yes man, no man. And last year, let's be honest here. Noah was kind of coaching himself, and that's not really something that you should really have. That's not, just kind of is what it is. So we shall see. But I'm a believer in Noah this year. They're going to have to be able to protect him, obviously. That's going to be a big part. But I do believe that he's also got the skill to be able to make some things happen. So we'll see. Now, Kendrick Reso, that is going to be somebody that when you look at Kendrick Reso, that's going to be a big one for me here. I think that he's the best running back on the team, and I think he's probably the best skill position guy. He is somebody that, like I said, you watch him and he just looks different. Not only does he look different, he looks, like I said, he looks incredibly. He looks like an NFL back. I mean, you can tell why he was where he was. Not only can you tell why he was ranked the way he was, he's also looked really good in camp. I think that you could make the case that last year he probably should have played a little bit more. Like I said, there were some times that you watched him and you're like, all right, well, he's got a little bit there that somebody like Quali Conley just doesn't have, and that's something that I don't really know that you can put I don't know that you can really put a price tag on. That's kind of where I'm at with that. He is like I said, I need him to be basically that back for you. That back that you watch him and you're just kind of like, okay, he can pretty much salt this game away. That's what Arizona needs. If Arizona can get that, then Arizona, like I said, will be in. Arizona will probably be in fairly good shape at that stage. But it's going to be that. Now, behind Kendrick Reso, you're also going to have a bevy of other running backs as well. Quincy Craig and Ishmael Mahdi. Both those guys can play. I think that it's fairly clear at this stage in the game that Reese knows that dude. But we'll see. He is also somebody, though, that, like I said, that backfield, and Alonzo Carter's talked about this a myriad of times. He wants guys in the backfield that are ready, that are willing to compete. And he's going to spread it around. That's always what he said that he wants to do with his running backs. And like I said, I think that's a good part about all of this. So, it's a good, and like I said, Quincy Craig might be the strongest pound for pound guy on the team. And if he's not the strongest pound for pound guy, he's certainly right in the discussion. I mean, he's a monster. He's really, really good. I have no doubt about the running backs, though, honestly, and looking at it last year, I didn't really have any backs or, reserves about him. If they had Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Paul Conley, but JCM was the dude that, was just kind of next level that you knew, all right, you get him onto the field, Arizona's probably going to be in a pretty good shape. So, like I said, the running backs, I like what they did. I like what they've done there. I think it's a solid unit. But again, when it comes to the running backs, as long as Alonzo Carter's there, I don't really have any qualms about how they're going to be. So there's that. Now, the wide receiver position. This is almost an all overhaul here. Now, there are a couple returners. There's one that you really need to know about, but you also need to know where exactly, some of these guys reside. And the first one that you need to know and how he factors into all of this is, we'll just go with Chris Hunter. Chris Hunter showed at the end of the last season that he's got some real ability to him. And, when you watch Chris Hunter, you're kind of like, it feels like maybe he should be playing at a little bit of a higher level. Maybe, he played with Arch Manning in high school. So it's not like he was, from some school that nobody had ever heard of, but he's big, he's strong, he's physical. That was a very nice find by the coaching staff. And he is listen, I think he's going to be a starter, and I think he's going to be one of the better receivers on the team. And I think he's got like I said, he's got a lot of potential. I think he could have gone pretty much anywhere that he wanted. He decided not anywhere he wanted, but within reason. He could have gone to a bigger place. But I think Arizona was really able to sell him on that, that we're going to bring you along, and we're going to be able to show you just kind of what Arizona is all about. And I think that's a part that you're kind of like, okay, we'll see. But he looks different, though. And I think at the end of the year, you started seeing that, and you started seeing that, man, there was maybe a little bit more to him. And I think that's a part that's kind of exciting about all of that. So, like I said, we shall see how it plays out. But I like Chris Hunter. Our guy, Jeremiah Patterson, probably going to be relegated to special teams, but that doesn't mean that Jeremiah Patterson cannot have a nice impact. I believe that he will have a nice impact. We like Jeremiah Patterson on this show. Now, the unit that everything's going to really come down to is the offensive line, and there's a couple names that you do need to know. But first, Wayfair, my friend, Wayfair, check it out. Here's the deal. All right, all kinds of really, really good stuff going on with Wayfair here. All right, hold on, let me find this. There we go. Okay, cool. as summer winds down, there, oh, it'd be nice. There's something about getting back into the routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From beddings and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair has you covered. You want to redecorate? You want to basically be able, you can get all kinds of different stuff. You can get furniture. You can get home improvement stuff. Wayfair has you covered. And again, you go in there, you're going to get a good price as well. They're going to help you. So again, this is the perfect time to get the home ready, whether they're organizing, upgrading the workspace, or maybe making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. They specialize in being flexible and helping you. So again, check it out, Wayfair. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about where Arizona football is then when it comes to some other situations here that are interesting, and that is the offensive line. Arizona needs the offensive line to be decent. Now, you brought in a bevy of different players, new players, and like I said, we got to find out who's who. The first one, though, is, and I think that you're going to find out from the returning perspective, is if Rhino's good to go week one, I think Rhino's going to play in at guard. Rhino is obviously a holdover from the Jed regime. Rhino's good. I like Rhino. Rhino's good. The thing with Rhino is Rhino just has to stay healthy. Rhino has not been able to stay healthy, and that's obviously been a problem for this team. So now, the next thing, too, that we need to talk about as well is where exactly then does he fit in along with Alexander Deuce. Alexander Deuce is like I said, he's a good player. If he's on the inside, I think when you watched him at tackle, he just wasn't nimble enough, wasn't fleet-footed enough. Kind of is what it is. But inside, he's looked pretty good, and he is a strong guy. He is incredibly strong. He's a mountain of a man. And not only is he a mountain of a man, he is also he's also somebody that, you watch and you're just kind of like, okay, cool. Can you operate on that interior? And I think he's going to be fine. I think him and Deuce are going to be fine. Quite frankly, I think the interior O-line, I actually am warming to a little bit here because, again, Deuce and Rhino and then DeCambra just need them to be okay. And I think there's enough to indicate that they could just be okay. And if they're just okay, then I think Arizona is going to be okay. But you're going to have to see. We're going to have to see how that plays out. I'm not exactly sure, but Arizona is also in a unique spot here. So we'll find out. Then you got other guys, you got other holdovers that are there for depth purposes. Doesn't appear that Matthew Lotto is going to be that guy. It's a little disappointing. Maybe next year. It also doesn't appear necessarily that Wooten's been moved inside, and that's fine with me because I think everybody has PTSD from watching Wooten at tackle last year. You move him into guard, maybe he's going to be a little bit better. Like I said, we shall find out. But the O-line, very, very fascinating. I watched this too, and if I look at it, though, and I'm like, okay, cool. There's where you're at. Now, let's talk about the tight end position here. The tight end position is very, very interesting. I think everybody thought that this was going to be a Kean Burnett, Sam Olsen situation. I don't really see that being the case. I think this is going to be a Tyler Powell situation here. Tyler Powell has done everything by the book. We like Tyler Powell. He's come in, and like I said, he's the best tight end on the roster right now. I like Kean a lot. The problem with Kean is that Kean can't stay healthy. If Kean can't stay healthy, then Kean can't play. I mean, it's kind of that simple. But like I said, that's kind of where you're looking at it, though, when it comes to that. When I watch, though, him, you also see somebody that, with Powell, he's big, he's strong, he's physical, and he's really bought into the coaching aspect of this. And that's something that obviously needs to happen. He's bought into it. He's shown people what he can do. Not only has he shown people, the coaching staff is also big on him as well. That obviously goes a long way. So Tyler Powell, I think, is going to be your tight end. We'll find out. I don't want to see Sam Olsen. I mean, he's okay, whatever, but I don't want to see Sam Olsen. Kean, thing with Kean, again, Kean's got a lot of talent, but Kean's got to stay healthy. If Kean can't stay healthy, then Kean can't be out on the field. It's really that simple. So that's kind of a little bit of a breakdown of some of your returners there. Now let's get to the defensive side of the football, because there's some interesting guys that are coming back there as well. The first one we need to talk about, though, is Trey Smith. Trey Smith last year was Arizona's best pass rusher, 4.5 sacks. I think you're hoping that he could probably get into that 6-sack realm. I think it's going to help him a great deal having Joe Salavea in there. You didn't have Joe Salavea last year. You had Samalo, who was one of the worst coaches on the staff, if not the worst. Nobody liked him. Having Joe Salavea in there, and Joe Salavea is showing guys like Trey Smith how to use their hands for the first time, which is I guess better late than never, but that's a little bit disconcerting there that you're at that point where you're like, all right, well, need you to be able to use your hands. But Smith, expect him to be just fine. He's okay. He's not great, but he's a fine replacement. Then you move to the other side. That's where it's going to get interesting. Can Chase Kennedy, can he be somebody that kind of matures a little bit? The problem with Chase, and I know that he's listed at like 230 pounds or whatever the case may be, he's not big enough. I just don't, like I said, I don't know really how to put it. Chase Kennedy's just got to get bigger, but he does look bigger. I will give him that. And he does have a little bit of burst off the edge. I got to give him that. He has been like I said, I mean, he's had moments where he's shown out. He's just got to be able to do that. And if he does it, then, it is what it is. So those are the two guys then that I think as far as, and then you got Dominic Lalesio, he's got some talent as well, but those are the guys that are returning. Then after that, I think you're just trying to buoy it with a bunch of different people. You got Malachi Bailey, obviously, who we talked about in a previous show. You got Riley Wilson. You've got some other guys that are just, like I said, are able to play. Can they really show out? Can they show that next step? That remains to be determined. Now, the backside of the defense, I think a lot of people are hoping is going to be something that can really kind of step up here and, maybe make a little bit of a difference. And that starts with somebody that was a tackle machine last year. But first, FanDuel, my friends, FanDuel. All right, here's the deal with FanDuel.com. FanDuel, you will thank me later on this. August 26th is officially FanDuel's Futures Day. Woo! A brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling an MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Get in there August 26th. Take your flyer again. Who's your pick for the MVP? Who is going to win the Super Bowl? And you can parlay that, dark horses, everything. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning the futures bets right now, because futures is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game, my friends. FanDuel. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about where we are going now forward with when it comes to somebody like I don't know. Let's talk about Tay Brown. Tay Brown is interesting here. Tay Brown is a guy that some guys get tackles and some guys are difference makers. I don't know if Tay Brown is just a guy that gets tackles or a difference maker. There was a question about Tay Brown or Jacob Manu after his freshman season. What kind of player was Jacob Manu? What kind of was he just a guy that got tackles? Was he a guy that was able to get downhill? And he showed that in his second season. Now, granted, he came back for his third season and he was terrible, but I think that was because of a lack of conditioning. He got hurt, all of that stuff. But Manu is like I said, we'll find out what Tay Brown is. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know. I think he's okay. I don't think he's great by any means, but I think he's more than serviceable. And I think that's what you're looking for if you're the University of Arizona. Now, moving into the secondary, then that's where that's where this all gets interesting. Oh, and people asking me about Leviticus Sua. I know Zach's 4-star kid. I get that. He's just not good enough. Just kind of that. Okay, now into the secondary as well. You got Marquise Groves Killebrew back. Now he's been out for a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with MGK, because MGK is probably the most physically talented defensive back on the roster, or excuse me, cornerback. The problem with the MGK is you just got to be out there on the field. He had it up and down year last year, but there was also some times where you could tell that he was good. He was good. And so I think that's what you're hoping there. And then, on the inside, the nickel, you got Traden Stukes. Traden Stukes is he's a player that everybody should want. You watch Traden Stukes, you watch how he plays. You can just see somebody that is that is a good football player. I think Dwayne Aquina said that if there was a better nickel back in the country, he would love to see it. I tend to agree with him on that. He just does a lot of different things. Not only does he do a lot of different things, he also is he's also a guy that, like I said, he's just good for what you do. He's physical, all of that stuff. And he stayed here, which we like. Now, the other defensive, the safety positions, that's obviously where you got a smorgasbord of guys returning. The first one is Genesis Smith. I expect Genesis Smith to be, if there's a guy that could challenge to be the third straight first-round pick from the U of A, I would think it'd be Genesis Smith. Big, fast, physical. He's a safety, obviously, but he's also really good, and he's got good ball skills. That's something that I think you have to keep coming back to, that he's got good ball skills. And we know that it's important to have defensive backs that can get to the ball. So there's that. Now, Dalton Johnson. Dalton's just the stabilizer back there. Dalton is when Dalton Johnson's in the game, Arizona looks better. When he's not in the game, Arizona looks a little bit haphazard. Dalton Johnson is the man, though. We like Dalton Johnson. Arizona, really benefited from having him come back. They toured up to smelly, rainy Seattle, and he decided that that was not for him. So Dalton Johnson, like I said. And then you got Jack Luttrell. I like Jack Luttrell because he's always kind of around the football. People say, the football was thrown right to him. Well, that's not his fault. That's the quarterback's fault. And generally, if they're thrown right to you, that's probably something where you're doing something well as well. So, like I said, you got some good returning players. Listen, at the end of the day, these newcomers are going to have to really, really step up. We're going to find out what kind of evaluation skills these coaches have. Also, some of the coaches that are back, I got to give Bobby Wade a lot of credit. They've done a nice job replenishing that wide receiver room. We'll find out what kind of coach Viney is. You don't have Dwayne Aquina around, obviously, anymore in the secondary. And then, some of the holdovers, like we talked about, your Danny Gonzalez, your Alonzo Carters, guys like that. How are they going to play out? Because at the end of the day, these decisions, these coaching decisions that were made by Brent Brennan are basically going to decide his job. And the other one too that I look at and I'm like, that's going to decide the job. Somebody like Josh Oglesby. Josh Oglesby is, like I said, I know a lot of people like him. I get all that. But at the same time, the O-line was awful last year, and I don't know that it didn't appear that he knew what he was doing. He's got to be able to step that one up. But Brent Brennan's all in on him, obviously. And you know what? Brent Brennan is going to this season's going to ride or die, and his career is, with these coaches and these players that he's a lot of these holdovers, a lot of guys that he's had come back. So we'll find out. But I do believe Arizona is going to make a bowl. The closer we get, I do believe that Arizona is going to make a bowl. So keep that in mind. Now, tomorrow, though, we're going to have another evening practice, be able to talk about stuff, and we'll have a special show just kind of breaking that all down. We're also going to talk, obviously, some Arizona basketball. Obviously, Arizona basketball is a big thing around here. We like that. Now, the thing about it is that the thing about it too as well that was also interesting is where are we at then? Where are we at now with this football team? And with the football team, you also have something that you also have a team that, like I said, has got to win football games. So we'll find out. But on that note, though, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, locked on your team every day. We will be back with you tomorrow.